What is up, everybody? I wanted to go live today while I had some time to talk a little bit of some of these postseason Big Brother 27 topics. It should be no surprise that Ashley bought the mess a lot on feeds, and she's bringing the mess a lot on some of these lives with information to talk about over the past 2 days. Probably going to be a fairly quick live today, but we will see how this goes. I gotta pull up my notes real quick. What up, Miracle in the chat? Long time subscriber. So, yeah, yesterday I mentioned some of these clout chasing pre-jurors that were trying to get clout by going live with Ashley 2 nights ago. Well, really, yesterday morning. It was so early in the morning. But, not only on her IG, but on their TikTok lives, especially Zach and Adrian, who basically beg for money on TikTok live. And like, not even people from Love Island that get popular do that on TikTok, but of course, Adrian and Zach doing that. What's up, Cat Mom? What's up, Amy Bonner in the chat? Thanks for joining me today. Lauren's also been another one among these pre-jurors with Ashley. Lauren has definitely been hanging out with the pre-jurors a lot. And I don't know what that means for her and Zach quite yet. We all know Zach wanted to bring flowers to the finale, but they wouldn't let him because the show wants to focus on their very, very loving showmans, Rylie and Kat. But yeah, I do think most of the jurors have actually gone home back to their families, so that's why Ashley is stuck with Lauren and the pre-jurors. And Amy's also there. I know someone commented yesterday that Amy's not a clout chaser. I agree. Amy and Ashley were friends during the season. That's one of few people that didn't talk shit early game about Ashley. What's up, Arno Stew in the chat? But one of the main highlight to me of Ashley's first live yesterday, early morning, was her finding out in real time that Rylie had a kid and her shouting pretty loudly, Rylie has a kid. And then everyone else has to quiet her down and let her know that Rylie and Kat are in the next room over. So that was hilarious. But what wasn't hilarious was Ashley talking about how her father had to call production during the season at one point and told her this because Rylie was saying he was going to trip Ashley at one point. For anyone that remembers that night, I remember talking about that in one of the videos when that happened. And who was Rylie talking to? Well, he was talking to Lauren, and you have Lauren at that live with Ashley in the back trying to get out of frame when Ashley is bringing this up, because I'm sure Lauren doesn't want someone in the chat to say he was talking to Lauren about it, and Lauren was laughing about it at the time. Yeah, I enjoyed that live too, Amy. That was very entertaining because Ashley will say, she'll read any comment, any question, and say anything. It's part of the reason I loved her in the first place. Later in that live, Rylie came out and gave Ashley a hug, and Ashley looked kind of afraid of him, which I don't blame her with everything she just said about what her father had to do. But also, Rylie is kind of a jump scare himself, and frankly, so is Kat. And while Kat and Rylie were in the other room, they were doing their own live at one point. Rylie was talking a little shit. I don't really remember what, but they were both yapping. Morgan got brought up by Zach. Surprise, surprise, who always brings up Morgan. We'll get to Zach a little later. But then Kat started talking some shit about Morgan, like Morgan only became a comp beast because the competitors left the game, which is ridiculous to say because Keanu was still there, Callie was still there, Lauren was still there, Vince was still there. So clearly Kat was trying to make it seem like her and Rylie were the comp beasts that weren't there anymore. Rylie maybe, but Kat herself and her one comp, she needs to sit down for real this time, like Rachel told her a long time ago. But this time on the live, Kat was standing up, talking her shit. I don't know why she came at Morgan like that. What the feelings are there against Morgan? Maybe it's just bitter that Morgan won, but like, Kat, you didn't even play the game. You came into the game to find your man, find her, Prince Charming himself. Mimi says jealousy in the chat. I agree. What up, Nadia? Definitely some sort of jealousy there. That didn't even make any sense, that quip from Kat. Maybe she was drinking. Who knows? If I was with Rylie all the time, I would be drinking. I don't know what to say about Kat and Riley's relationship. We all know it's probably going to be a disaster one day. Hopefully, not in any major way. We know Kat's gone through some recent grief. Unfortunate passing of her mother a few years ago, or maybe even shorter. And I think that's left her in a vulnerable state to be taken advantage of from a guy that has taken advantage of other women lately. But at the same time, it's also hard for me to feel sorry for Kat because she'll say herself that she can come across like a mean person. And it might be the grief, but I always think that's a shitty excuse because Kat was an asshole the early days of the feeds, and I can still see how she tries to be an asshole on some of these lives. So unfortunately, she's young. She's probably going to have to learn the hard way with Rylie one day. Hopefully, she won't be starring in Knocked Up 3 when it comes to Rylie and babies. I also think she's going against her family's wishes when it comes to Rylie. But it is her life that she might royally fuck up with Rylie. Mimi's puking in the chat. Hello, Chloe Cams. What up, Ray Rush? How are you guys today? I actually, since we're talking about Kat and Rylie, let's play some bets in the chat real quick. Some over and unders, or if you watch this later in the comments, you could place your bets. What is the over under for the amount of months it takes for Rylie to knock Kat up? Do you think it's going to be under 8.5 months, over 8.5 months? And if not that, what's the over under you think this relationship crashes and burns? Do you give it 10 months or less? Put your bets in the chat or the comments at some point today. Thank you. Amy Bonner says, she's so young. I dated a dumbass at that age too that my parents couldn't stand. She's going to look back at this and cringe just like I do. Hopefully one day she will look back at that. Arno Stu says 3 months tops. Is that 3 months knocked up or 3 months for the relationship? Shelly says less. Rob Duran says baby will be here in 9 months and 3 days. That's a pretty precise, Rob. He's saying that it's right already happening. Chloe says they don't make it to Christmas. Amy says, yeah, I give it 3 months. Arno's talking about 3 months tops for the relationship. Kara says, oh, that's not, he better not. I mean, Rylie got a history of knocking women up and then leaving them. So it's very possible. Veronica says she looked a bit puffy on the family. So the under is looking popular today. Roberta says 4 months until she is pregnant. Arno says yes at Chloe. Well, it's not looking good in the betting for Kat to be Riley's next deadbeat dad victim. Let's see what else I got on my notes. I do want to get back to some Ashley T, but before I get back to that, on my video a couple days ago about Ashley winning and about how casuals don't know anything about Big Brother anymore, some casuals in the comments decided to prove me right, that they do indeed have a low IQ and that they don't know what they're talking about. It's funny because they first come in commenting that they're offended by what I said, that they don't know what they're talking about, which to me is basically admitting that they are casuals because hit dogs will always holler. But then later, if you keep commenting with them, they'll act like, oh, they watch the feeds. And one commenter even said, oh, I recorded all the feeds. But that's clearly just an act because if they weren't, basically I wasn't talking to you. So why were you offended if you're not a casual? Right? Does that not make sense? So I don't think these people that comment about how Ashley's a bad winner didn't actually watch the feeds. One commenter in particular, Durden was his name. That's not his YouTube handle, but it's his name on his channel. I don't want to give his boring movie reviews any promotion. But he left a comment when someone else said Morgan deserved to win, and I said, well, she lost in the final three. She couldn't win. Durden said, the one that broke the BB record. This was Durden saying with spelling the number one with a W, WON, because that's the kind of low IQ casuals we got to deal with. Further proving my point. But then the guy is calling Ashley a DEI lawyer, a DEI winner, and it tells me all I need to know about some of these casuals, because anyone that uses Fox News and social media buzzwords doesn't have a mind of their own. Like, oh my God, I'm going to overuse a fraudulent insult because it's a go to on social media when I don't have a real argument. It's just truly mindless drone shit. And it proves that casuals like Durden don't have minds of their own. They accept abysmal Big Brother edits that are propaganda for certain players because they accept propaganda in all aspects of life. So I had to go on that tangent real quick because some of these damn casuals piss me off. They've been pissing me off since the damn show ended. Ray Rush says, Zach was definitely trying to get clout. All that shit you said about Ashley, but was on the live like y'all were besties. He was trying to be Ashley's biggest bestie on those lives. Chloe Cam says, if you don't watch the feeds, you don't get the truth. Exactly. Not at all, especially these days. Back in the day, they would actually have some decent edits that were like the feeds. But these days, it's like the opposite of the damn feeds. It's like total lies on the episodes. Amy Bonner says, Ray Rush, I felt like Zach didn't want to leave Ashley's side. He didn't. Nadia said, not sure, they will probably stay since they want the amazing race. Odell Chick says, so freaking true. Odell Chick says, I miss old school Big Brother. Well, that's long gone. Since y'all are talking about Zach, we might as well talk about Zach next. Of all the pre-jurors, I do feel like he has to be the biggest. He's the biggest fraud for sure. The biggest clout chaser. I mean, Adrian kind of is too, but to me, Adrian is kind of inconsequential. He's very irrelevant to me, so I don't even want to waste my breath on him. But Zach, first of all, he was Mr. I don't fuck with Rylie so that he could fit in on Twitter. And then, of course, by finale night, he's making TikToks with Rylie. And then he was Mr. called Ashley dumb until he got on Twitter to see that Ashley was actually popular. And he's been trying to champion Ashley ever since and act like he really, really does like Ashley. And so while Zach was right next to her acting like her best friend the other night, I'm glad there were people in the comments of that live calling Zach a fraud to Ashley while she was sitting there on the live right next to him. Ashley finally joined Twitter yesterday, or last night at least, and I'm glad somebody at one point in response to her lives with some of the pre-jurors said that if Ashley lost, they would be there talking shit about her. And Ashley did respond with probably. So I do think Ashley's been smart enough this whole time. Clearly, she's had the best reads. So I do think her reads probably on these people are still going to be good. Now, maybe she is blinded by Zach once again, like she was on the season, because it does seem like she really, really does like Zach as a person. To me, he's been coming across so very, very fake, though. Chloe Cam says, Kat has to watch what she says and does all the time because Rylie can blow up anytime. Not good. Yeah, we saw that happening on the feeds so many times. Angela says, I've never been a fan of Catherine. She seems like a mean girl. She definitely came across like a mean girl. Jerry said he had a power and then begged for another power. Who are you talking about? I don't remember. Shelly says, plus, Zach. Of course, you're right. Zach did have a power, used it to save Morgan, who he still talks about a lot as well. Screwed himself like a dummy. Shelly says, plus many folks do not pick up on the subtleties, which Ashley was an expert at using. True. Angela's betting 8 months, I'm assuming for the pregnancy. Nadia says, Zach wants the money. That's why he's stuck to Ashley. So you think Zach's doing his Vince impression when it comes to Ashley winning the money? Maybe. Back to 1960 says, the win has gone to Ashley's head, acting immature and messy. Really impressed with how Morgan carried herself since Sunday. We'll get to that. Hello, Chocolate Capricorn. Nadia says, LOL. We'll get to the Morgan stuff. But one more thing about Zach. He does come obsessed with Morgan to me. He still brings her up all the time. I saw him on a live bringing up again when she had his toothbrush 2 months ago. This was 2 months ago that she was obsessed with Zach. She was, but Zach is still bringing it up because he's an attention whore. Zach's an attention whore. He loved the attention that Morgan was giving him during the game. Now he still wants Morgan to be obsessed with him, but that ship has sailed. I think he still talks about Morgan for clout because on TikTok, it's all these teenagers. I just had to talk about this today on the Love Island Games review. All these teenagers who are mindless as well on TikTok. I think he feels like he gets clout from the little teenagers. He gets the ego boost from these teenagers on TikTok when he brings up Morgan is obsessed with him. And it brings him the attention that I guess he really, really needs. Let's see. Matthew says Vince and Lauren needed to grow a spine. Mimi says, I have not seen Ashley being messy or immature. I mean, Ashley's messy, but I don't think she's being immature either. This is what happened last night on a live. Ashley and Amy were on a live and they brought up this little nugget that I guess they had seen Morgan prior in the night. And I guess Morgan had some bad vibes with them. Now, Amy was the first one to say this. And Amy's another messy person. She was messy early in the season too. Amy was clearly drunk when she said this too. Later, Ashley kind of brought it up again that Morgan might be a little bitter with her for winning. So maybe Morgan is feeling some kind of way about Ashley beating her in the game. But Morgan did congratulate Ashley on Twitter. This is before Ashley made a Twitter, though. I think some people are thinking, like even in the chat just now, that Ashley is gloating a little too much. But like, Ashley just won the game. It's 2 days ago. I think she deserves a grace period to gloat. She is the winner. And plus, a lot of people have talked shit about her. A lot of people doubted her. Her edit was not good. So I'm sure that's a bit of a chip on her shoulder, too, if the people are talking about her edit. So I don't have any problems with Ashley being a gloating winner when she just won 2 days ago. She even talked about how Dr. Will told her that he watched some feeds this season and that they played a similar game, which to me is high praise for someone considered one of the OG best players of the game. So I guess the casuals can suck on that as well, that even Dr. Will watched some of the damn feeds and considers Ashley a good winner. Angela says she's a great winner. Amy Bonner says she's definitely messy. Ashley will always be on the messy side. Matthew says live near Georgetown under Bush. That's where Ashley went to school. Impressive. Mimi said I should have qualified my statement any more than usual. I think Ashley is as messy as usual. She's not being overly messy to me either. Nadia says, yes, I'm sure Ashley is happy. I would be too. Amy says she got an edit like Andy did in 15. Yeah, Andy's edit was still better, though. I mean, they had to edit something positive in 15. I think this show just doesn't know how to edit a more under the radar game that's like meticulous. Ashley had a very meticulous strategy some weeks more than others, but nonetheless, she still had a meticulous strategy. And since it worked in the end, it would have been nice for them to include her point of view more often. I think that's where they went wrong. They just didn't include her point of view because we needed Vince's point of view just so damn much. And we had to make Keanu look way smarter than he actually was, even though he's Mr. Dumb Dumb. I don't have any news on Keanu. He went back home to his girlfriend or whatever she is. Um, let's get back to Morgan though, because I do feel like Morgan also deserves a grace period to feel a little bitter about losing the game. She was dominating the end game. Um, Ashley even said in that live that people are trying to stoke the flames between them, that she thinks Morgan will be okay in time. I do think Morgan just needs some time to get over the loss. She's a gamer, she's a competitive person. Hopefully, in time, she won't have bitterness to Ashley for cutting her. I mean, Ashley won the final 3 HOH. That's just what happens. Let's see. KH says just joined, so I don't know which topic we're on. Do you think Zach is clout chasing with Ashley's win? Yes, 100%. Just covered that a bit ago. Back to 1960 says Ashley is being immature. Morgan is human. She suffered a big loss, and then her friend Ashley hanging out with the messy preachers who hate Morgan. I mean, they hate Ashley too, to be fair. And everybody else left LA except for Morgan and Lauren. So who else is she supposed to hang out with? Martina Williams says it was Morgan's game to win, but she choked. Yeah. Matthew says, will Keanu or Morgan go on the challenge? They should. If Keanu goes, though, I hope he A, listens to women, and B, actually tries to have strategies this season. Not listen to the same person over and over and look like an idiot. That would be nice. But I think Morgan would do great on the challenge. Drago says, is Zach still a butterface to you? Yeah. Arno Stu says, production didn't see what Ashley was doing until she said she was playing dumb. Well, I don't know how. Someone on production has to be watching the live feeds. And it was very apparent by week 3 that Ashley was very astute to the game. So they need better people in production, but what else is new? Daisy May says, I like Keanu. He wasn't fake and too trusting. He admits it. He does finally admit that. That's true. Murray Duda says, be mad at Vince for not letting you sleep. Yeah, Morgan should be more mad at Vince. We don't know any information on Vince and Morgan yet, though. Debbie says, I give the Grossmans 3 months. John Tolliver says, Ashley should be mad at Vince for Morgan should be mad at Vince. Yeah. Nadia says, I think maybe Morgan is not interested in this group at this time. Maybe she doesn't want Vince anymore. I think time will tell on the Vince and Morgan stuff. Let's see. Back to 1960 says, y'all are being hypocritical. The preacher said way worse about Ashley than Vince, yet people are cheering Ashley. Vince dragging, making excuses for hanging out with preachers. I mean, she just got out of the game. She's at the same age as most of those preachers. I don't think I can fault Ashley for that. I think Ashley isn't actually upset with Vince. I think Ashley is dogging on Vince about his game, like Vince dogged on her about her game the entire damn game. So, yeah, everyone talked trash about each other in the house, Martino says. Sorry for the damn sirens around here. Red Bull gives me wings says Kat is actually the worst. Her and Rylie make so much sense together. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with the Morgan event stuff. Today is supposed to be option 1 day, but so far option 1 hasn't happened to my knowledge. But if Vince really does still want Morgan, he better act fast because Cam came down yesterday and hung out with Morgan. BB26 Cam left his dogs at the crib and came down to spend some time with Morgan yesterday in LA. You know, there's all these rumors that Tucker might be into Morgan or wants Morgan. But, you know, maybe Cam does too. You never know. So Vince is radio silent. He's not on social media. Maybe it's damage control with Kelsey. I don't know what will come of the whole Vince and Morgan situation. I think it's going to be a while before they even tell the truth about what happened in the house. A lot of you in the comments of my video yesterday about Vince and Morgan going on their crusade about how they were just so platonic this season. A lot of you were saying you were feeling gaslit by them, and they are definitely doing a lot of gaslighting by acting like all of their petting moments, all of their hugs were so platonic. Because clearly Kelsey felt some kind of way. So it couldn't have been that platonic. I do think they're doing damage control for now, but I'm honestly glad they're not clout chasing themselves and trying to be this post game showmance for their stands. Because they do have stands. There's definitely Mintz, Vorgan, Venmo stands out there. So I'd much rather they deal with this in private than, you know, chase the clout like they're Zach. Let's see. Plink Glitter says, I was okay with Morgan until her and Vince started talking down to Ashley, having no idea what she was capable of. Watching their fall after the Pride was epic. It was good to see the swerve at the end where they both choked. Mary Duda says, who cares about the pre-jury flops? Best revenge for Ashley is letting them carry her purse. Trina says, she deserves to gloat and enjoy her win, especially since she couldn't even enjoy her win after part 2 of the HOH competition because Vince was being a sore loser. Great point. Vince apparently went on for like 8 minutes that way. We only got to see like 2 minutes of his meltdown on the episode. So yeah, Ashley couldn't enjoy part 2 of the HOH win. Martino says Morgan will get so many guys in her DMs. Sorry, Vince, probably. Back to 1960 says, and the preachers dogged Ashley's game and even threatened violence on her. Come on, people, be real. You can stand and still be objective. I mean, I don't know what you want from us. Back to 1960. Ashley was hanging out with the group for one night, and it wasn't even one night. I think it was a few hours in the morning, and she didn't want to be next to Rylie. We saw that in her reaction to him trying to hug her. Chloe Camp says, no, Morgan deserves better than Vince. Nadia says, I didn't watch the last BB seasons before. This is your first BB season ever? It's an interesting, the last 2. Rob says, and that's a wrap. Sorry, Vinny. Mary Duda says, Joseph, Tucker, and Cam are giving Clout Chaser. Why you want to date another reality TV when there's thousands of girls? Yeah, they might be chasing some clout too, wanting to stay relevant. I mean, Tucker's on The Amazing Race right now, so he's still relevant. Joseph, haven't heard from him in forever. And Cam doesn't actually give me clout chaser vibes. I think Cam, much like a lot of these Big Brother alumni, just hang around in LA after the finale. It's like a little family or something. KH says, it's so interesting how half of the cast is off the grid decompressing and the other half who had time to readjust to the real world is everywhere. Yeah, the pre-jurors are everywhere. Ava has gone into hiding. She's another one in hiding. She might fear being unpopular because we all know her biggest deal was wanting to be America's favorite player. So I think she's probably afraid to make an appearance. I'll be shocked if Ava stays in obscurity because that doesn't seem like the type she is, but maybe she is. Arno Stu says the Morgan Vince soap opera made the live beats interesting. I agree. I'm kind of sad that they're not the ones going to Beyond the Bold and the Beautiful. Not that I watched The Bold and the Beautiful because it's the worst soap opera on the air, but apparently Rachel will be reprising her role on the soap opera from when she appeared seasons ago. But I still think Vince and Morgan should have been the ones on a soap opera because they literally gave us soap opera. Mary Duda says Rachel and Will were already on bed. I don't know what you mean. Big Fee and the fam says Vince crashing out was the best in the last. I mean, it was good to see Vince presented as the crash out that he can be, like a little baby, a child throwing a tantrum because he didn't read the damn directions right. Martino says, did Mickey delete her IG? I can't find her anymore. I don't know. Good question. I know she hasn't gotten to 10,000 on Twitter yet, and Ashley already way surpassed that, so I'm sure Mickey's pretty sad about that. Monica says, Zach and Adrian are working my nerves. They really are the worst of the season when it comes to the fakeness and the cloud chasing. Mary Duda says, wait, Kelly eating something about Kelly. Amy Bonner says, Ashley said he crashed out for about 8. Yes, exactly. An 8-minute crash out is crazy. Back to 1960. Happy Rachel, Will, and Morgan are keeping it classy. I love that for them. No good ever comes from these messy social media antics. I wish Jimmy would get back out there. He's the messiest of them all. He's the only one that will really give us tea. Sorry, Mary, dude. I wasn't sure what you were saying about Callie. Big Fee and the fam says it's his crying saying he's a B. That's so weak. And that's another thing about Vince's game for some of these casuals that are upset. The whole season, Vince was crying about his own game, shitting on his own game to the people, and yet they're supposed to respect his game in the end. Like, it doesn't make logical sense to me. Mary Duda says Jimmy be as messy as Jimmy, even if it's cringe. Jimmy can be cringe, but his mess helps. Roberta says Ashley was upset about Mickey's remark. Yeah, she was upset about Mickey's remark about her being like the only real black woman or whatever the fuck she said. The Shakir says, did you see the video of Mickey and Zay having a spat in the van? That I did not see. I'm glad Mickey is still providing some drama with them after the show, though. Arno Stu says a few of them would benefit from receiving counseling. I hope they are getting some counseling after this season. A lot of them certainly need it. Back to 1960 says Jimmy goes overboard. You can give tea without spilling all over the place. He needs to practice restraint because people will be over him soon. Yeah, him spilling the tea about Kat before anybody else was probably a complete lack of restraint, but I thank him for that. Big Fee says he should have said, I have blood on my hands and it's all yours to the jury. Yeah, he just could have just owned his game in the questions. Yeah, I did emotionally manipulate you all. That was my game plan, to get you on my side, but also get you out of the game. But he couldn't do that because chicken shit players never do that. I try and get people to see that. Even in the comments, somebody's still commenting on the Ashley video trying to argue about Vince's game being good. And it's like, no, it's unnecessarily messy. But if you are going to play that way, you shouldn't win so many HOHs, and so you have to tell even more unnecessary lies, and you have to have even more blood on your hands. But if you are going to play that way, you better at least own it in the game at the end to the jury. But chicken shit players like Vince never do that. Random person says, I watched some of the Model More clips on her twits, and she's so different from how she was on the show. Maybe it's like a online persona. Martino says, wonder if the person will be on BB28 who Ava replaced. Maybe. Martino says, yeah, Jimmy is so messy. Chocolate Capricorn says, Ashley reading the shady comments in front of the brain jury flop, so messy. And that's why I'm not mad at Ashley hanging out with them, because she was reading all of the negative comments about them to their faces without a care in the world. It's typical gray Ashley to me. The Shakir says Ashley gave Mickey a very short hug at the finale. Nadia says the BB house must be really stressful. I feel Morgan and Vince need therapy. They honestly needed therapy before they got in the Big Brother house, and they certainly are going to need it after being in the Big Brother house. Because, yeah, being in that environment for 3 months straight, it definitely has to be stressful. All right, I'm winding down here, but I'll read a few more of your comments. Monica says, Vinny is a manipulator in real life. He just showed it in the game. I think he is a manipulator in real life too, which is probably part of the reason why he couldn't own it at the finale. Pink Glitter says, I don't know, Grande's face. Oh, yes. Yeah, it looked like Vince was having a mental health crisis. Mary Duda says, Ashley knew what she was doing. And Eli says, Vinny's game lacked a backbone. It kind of lacked a backbone, but I also think that's what he was telling people to make it seem like he was the victim. Like, oh, I'm just doing this because I can't go against so-and-so, but I really still want that person out of the game. But let me blame it on the fact that I don't have a backbone. It's why some of the jury saw him as being emotionally manipulative, but he couldn't say he was at the finale. Mary Duda says, why everyone want us to treat Vince with kitty gloves? We don't do that for anyone. Yeah, I'm not treating Vince with kitty gloves. Yeah, Trina says, I also think the pre-jurors took advantage of Ashley not knowing what happened. They could have pre-warned her about things like Rylie. Yeah, they didn't seem to warn her about anything. They just wanted to do this live with her. And so if she found out about a lot of their shitty things they said and shitty things they did while on the live from the comments, that's on them. Arno Stu said Joseph made a YouTube video about the mental after effects of living in the BB house for 3 months. Good for him, because I'm sure it isn't great. Martino says Vince crying was so ridiculous all season. It was. I don't know what happened to reality TV in the last few years, but there is more crying than ever. And it really I get sick of it. So that was the one of the bigger reasons why I didn't want Vince to win. Like, I would have been okay if he somehow won in the end, if he would have actually admitted to his game and owned it, but all the crying, I lost so much respect for it. Monica says, I hate Amy kept trying to make excuses for Zach and Adrian in the lives to Ashley. It was annoying. I agree. Yeah, Amy was trying to make excuses for Zach and Adrian, although Ashley also seemed to want to like Zach as a person a lot too. Amy says Joseph Rodriguez's video was really good about mental health. It confirmed what I thought about myself. I'm not cut out for that house. Yeah. Shakir says, why was Keanu not staying with the group after the finale? I think a lot of the players wanted to go home to their loved ones, like Will, Rachel, Keanu. They all have loved ones elsewhere. All right. Well, I got to go. I want to thank you all for joining me today. We'll see if they bring any more tea for us to talk about. I think we're going to have a while to really get the real talk from Morgan and Vince, and not the platonic talk from Morgan and Vince. And I will also be doing a live tomorrow on Survivor and Big Brother themed Amazing Race. So if you're around tomorrow, if you're watching Survivor and Amazing Race, join me tomorrow. Thank you all. I'll see you later.